What's up, superhero fans? Welcome to another installment of Supes Disputes, the show where I sit down with talent manager, industry insider, and mega fan Brad Lambert, where we come together to break down the most divisive superhero topics and talk about the most trending superhero news. Well, guys, I'm out here wearing a little Marvel hat, looking like Kevin Feige, trying to give off my best Kevin Feige impression because, man, oh man, did he rock the house at Disney Investor Day. Today is a very special edition of Supes Disputes because, of course, as most of you know, Marvel rocked the house at Disney Investor Day, unveiling a ton of stuff, a ton of upcoming projects, a ton of trailers, and a ton of details about what's coming for the future of Marvel. So starting off from beginning to end, we're going to start off with the first announcement that Marvel made at Disney Investor Day, which was unveiling a trailer for WandaVision. Brad, what were your thoughts on this trailer for WandaVision, as this is the final piece of footage that we're getting before we start watching the show on Disney Plus January 15th?
Look, let me just start off by saying that I've been saying for a long time that all you people out there who said that Marvel was done and DC had the edge and Marvel had peaked and it's over and move on and all this stuff.
Where you at now?
Exactly.
Because after Endgame, so many people were saying Marvel's done. They should reboot. They have nothing else left. They lost Iron Man and Captain America. You can't fill that void. And guess what? Marvel came out on Disney Investor Day and they said, "Oh, really? Just wait on it. Wait on it. Look what we have coming." You know, it's crazy. I have the list of all of the announcements they made, Brad, and it's so crazy how we've gotten to the point where, you know, up to this point, Marvel has come out with 23 movies. In the next 3 years, Marvel is going to be coming out with more than 23 projects, combining the Disney Plus shows as well as their theatrical releases. And it's just so crazy. And they're changing the game with Disney Plus, especially because
100%.
With Lucasfilms, they're doing amazing things over there at Lucasfilms with Star Wars and that franchise. And you know, me and Brad talk about The Mandalorian all the time because the show is just so amazing. But it seems that Lucasfilm didn't prepare for the success of The Mandalorian. Marvel knows that they're going to be successful with WandaVision. That's why they have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming out in March. That's why right now, as we're speaking, they're filming the Hawkeye series. Loki is coming later on this year as well. Marvel is starting their Disney Plus run and they aren't stopping. And that's the difference between what they're doing over there at Lucasfilms and what they're doing over here at Marvel Studios. And even though both franchises are going to be super successful over there on Disney Plus, it's just crazy to see the volume and the quantity that Marvel is bringing to the table.
We have never seen the crossover from TV to film like this, from streaming to film like this, where Kevin talked about the interconnectivity of Kamala Khan and Miss Marvel, and then her appearing in Captain Marvel 2. That kind of stuff, the WandaVision, having that connect directly to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, like these are things we have not seen before. So the buffer periods between films where, you know, fans would wonder, I wonder what happened between this and this. Well, now we're getting it, guys, and that's unprecedented. So in regards to WandaVision, I can't wait. We knew this series was going to be wacky and trippy, and that trailer showed that, man. There's a lot going on. What I found interesting is, you know, Monica Rambeau came to the door and Wanda was like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I don't know." So that leads me to believe that there's some mind control elements happening here. There was another shot of a neighbor hanging up clothes and she was crying. And that evoked the emotion for me that she's not in control of what's happening, but she is aware of what's happening. So something trippy's going on. I feel like it's an alternate reality or a different universe where you heard the radio like, "Wanda, tell us who's doing this to you." Like Wanda's completely unaware of what's happening, but she's still manipulating everything. So I can't wait. I really believe this series is going to impact a lot moving forward for the MCU.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, judging off of this trailer that we got, you know, there wasn't anything in the trailer that was like really wowing to me compared to what we've seen in the past. But just looking at the trailer and looking at how wacky this show is going to be, we never really got an explanation of what this show is going to be, which is something that I really like because we're going in blind. We're going in to watch a show that we didn't even know what's going on. Like, we've been seeing the same things over and over again with their trailers and with the footage that they've been putting out. And even though they're not really showing us much, that's still a good thing if you look at it, because now we're going to go in and we're going to watch this show and we're going to think one thing of it, but in reality, something else is completely happening. And, you know, again, like going back to your point about the mind control stuff, I thought that was really interesting. And again, Kevin Feige, when talking about WandaVision, he said that this show is going to dive deep into mental health because no one in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has suffered more than Wanda. So it's going to be super interesting to see her cope with mental health, coping with the things she's suffered in the past. Because again, she has suffered more than anyone else in the MCU. So maybe she's almost running from her past. So that internal arc of her confronting the pain of her past and dealing with that, I feel like one that's very inspirational for a ton of people out there coping with mental illness and trying to
100%.
maintain a solid mental health. So not only is that bigger than just superheroes and media, but it sends a positive message. So again, I couldn't be more excited for WandaVision because, like Kevin Feige said at Disney Investor Day, this is going to lead directly into the events of Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Bingo.
And for that matter, you know, they're using these Disney Plus shows to connect to the movies and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Doctor Strange in this series because of the fact that it leads directly into Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, but, you know, on the flip side, we know Wanda's in the Multiverse of Madness. So I think that could play both sides. So
for sure.
I don't know. And the Spider-Man 3 connection, you and I have been theorizing for a long time that, you know, Wanda and alternate realities and different multiverses, you know, I think that's where this is going, especially for Kevin to confirm that. We still don't have confirmation on Toby or Andrew, but everything else is lining up quite nice. So I'm very optimistic that, you know, we're going to get what we want.
And dude, it's something we've been saying since the beginning. Wanda messes everything up, and then in Spider-Man 3, they deal with the ramifications of that. Even though Toby and Andrew aren't confirmed yet, we know Alfred Molina is coming back. We know Jamie Foxx's Electro is coming back.
Yep.
So in Spider-Man 3, they're going to deal with the ramifications of the events of WandaVision, and then it's all going to conclude in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So
and also the events of Endgame.
Yeah.
Because time traveling and hopping to different realities in that regard, like you're messing stuff up. So
for sure,
I think everything's going to add up, not to mention the snaps. I think the energy from that could have, you know, kind of messed things up significantly. But man, we're lucky, and Kevin didn't stop there dropping the bangers. That's for sure.
Oh, it was only the beginning, because after that WandaVision trailer, they moved on to talk a little bit about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. They confirmed a couple of castings, like Rachel McAdams coming back. And they also confirmed the casting of a new hero who in the comics is a part of the Young Avengers with Miss America Chavez. She's being played by Xochitl Gomez. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce her name, but she is coming. And in the comics, she is this crazy lighthearted hero who lives throughout the entire multiverse. She has super strength, super speed. She can fly, but her main power is the ability to open up portals to different parts of the multiverse. So I think she fits perfectly into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because she could be literally the person that helps Doctor Strange travel throughout the multiverse. So I'm sure she's going to be joining Doctor Strange and Wanda, and who knows, maybe Spider-Man along for their crazy journey. So Brad, was there anything from, when Kevin Feige talked about Doctor Strange, was there anything there that he said that kind of surprised you or got you excited for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness?
Other than that casting and obviously Mordo coming back, I think we all expected that.
Yes.
Or at least we were hoping that. But the biggest thing was Kevin coming out and saying it is connected to Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of guessed that it might have something to do with WandaVision, being that Wanda is in it. But to have that confirmation that they are directly connected and are impacted by each other, That was the biggest thing for me, because I think a lot of us expected we were going to get a first look at Spider-Man 3, maybe some casting
Yeah.
announcements, but we didn't get that. We'll talk about that later.
Hmm.
But as far as Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, aside from that casting and Mordo, I'm excited. I think he called it what, a true horror film
Yeah, a true
in the
horror
Marvel
film.
Cinematic Universe.
And it's super exciting because Sam Raimi is coming to direct this thing. So I couldn't be more excited for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And then
And look, we don't have to talk about the connection with Sam Raimi. I think everybody knows the connection with Sam Raimi. So who knows? He
yes,
might get
sir.
some cameos.
It's gonna happen for sure. And it looks like Marvel is using Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as that film to compete with DC's Flashpoint movie, where in that Flashpoint
Sure.
movie they're bringing in alternate versions of different characters. We got Ben Affleck's Batman, we got Michael Keaton's Batman, and who knows what other cameos or what other actors appear in their recurring roles in that film. But Doctor
Whew.
Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is going to be crazy. It's going to be nonstop. And again, going back to your point, it was super interesting to finally hear Kevin Feige confirm that it connects to the events of their third Spider-Man film. And that was the last thing we heard about Spider-Man 3 at Disney Investor Day, because after talking about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Kevin Feige decided to drop our first trailer for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Brad, Falcon and the Winter Soldier has been one of the Disney Plus shows that you haven't been as hyped for compared to like something like WandaVision or Loki.
Sure.
So what did this trailer show you?
It has very much a Winter Soldier vibe, and I'm all about it. The different locations they tease, potentially
Yeah.
the origin of Wolverine. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a lot of things could happen in this show. And once again, these aren't just projects that Marvel's just throwing out. Like, we don't care. Everything's connected. There's a purpose for everything that
Yes.
they're doing. I think there's a lot story left to tell with Falcon and his journey to becoming Captain America,
Mm-hmm.
which Steve obviously gave him the shield and said, basically, you're next. So, that story needs some unraveling. And obviously, Bucky's going to have more story told with him. Zemo, Sokovia. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
much that they're going to cover in this show, but the action sequences that they featured in this trailer, just once again, like, we saw what they did with the production value of Mandalorian, but now with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, man, we're getting that, but it's going to be Marvel, so I can't wait.
Bro, and that was my biggest takeaway from that trailer was this just the action sequences looked top notch, next level. They looked
Yep.
better than the action sequences that we get in the damn movies. And that says a
Hey,
lot because
quality.
they're taking the character of Falcon, like we saw just that last sizzle reel at the end, towards the end of the trailer, Falcon flying through the canyon, just dodging different things, and it looks so dope. And the most compelling part of this entire show is the parallel structure between Falcon and Bucky. Falcon's arc is about him trying to find a way to become the next Captain America. Bucky's arc is literally just him trying to find out who he is because he's been brainwashed and he's had all of these identity issues for all these years. Now Bucky's a regular dude in a world where his best friend isn't around anymore. So now this is a journey about these two characters finding themselves and being comfortable in
Yep.
their own skin and becoming the heroes they believe themselves to be. So I'm super excited to see this Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. Again, my expectations for it were already super high. And again, we've talked about it in the past. I predicted like a Winter Soldier-esque vibe to this show. And that's exactly what this trailer gave us. So now moving on from past Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Kevin Feige decided to talk about the other theatrical movies that we're getting in 2020. And it was very interesting that we didn't get much for the theatrical movies that Marvel is releasing in 2020. We didn't get much for Black Widow. We didn't get much for Shang-Chi. We pretty much didn't get anything for Eternals. So Brad, did that come as a surprise to you that we barely got anything for the theatrical releases that Marvel is dropping in 2020?
I think the purpose of talking about those films was to let everybody know that these are not going to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
That was the big news
Huge.
with those films,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people, after seeing what Warner Brothers did with their 2021 slate, pushing everything to HBO Max, a lot of people were like, "Oh, what's Disney going to do?
Yeah.
You're up. Is Black Widow going to drop on Disney Plus?" The answer is no. They are not going to do that. They have projects that are designated for the streaming platform, which is great. And then they are staying true to their theatrical releases, which I respect. So I also think it's interesting that if they're holding tight on those dates where I think Black Widow was in May,
Yeah.
that means I think they have a good idea that without any major setbacks, we should be back to semi-normal in May with the vaccine just rolling out now. So I would like to think Disney, one of the biggest companies in the world, would have that insider info as to kind of planning their slate. So that was huge news for me. Although we didn't see anything, we did get significant info on that front that these projects are not on Disney Plus and they will not go to Disney Plus.
And that was the big question that we all had. Are they going to announce Black Widow for kind of like a Wonder Woman kind of premiere where it's on Disney Plus, but it's also in theaters? Like, what are they going to do with that? But no, Marvel said, nah, they're not coming to streaming. We are bringing these movies to the theater experience because that is where they deserve to be viewed. And I love that because it shows guts. It shows courage during a time where there's so much uncertainty with major projects like this, like Black Widow. A lot of people put in a lot of movie for that movie to get made. That movie has an extremely high budget.
But here's the difference. Marvel knows what they're dropping on Disney Plus. Well, Disney knows what Marvel's dropping. Disney knows what Pixar and Disney Animation are dropping, as well as Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So they know there's so much content going to be available on Disney Plus.
For sure.
Whereas for HBO Max, I don't think it's even close in regards to the quality. There might be stuff to watch, but the bombs that Disney dropped at Investor Day saying like WandaVision in January, Falcon and the Winter Soldier in March. I mean, it's just like right then and there, you have these two massive MCU shows right before Black Widow in May. And then Shang-Chi right after that. So it's like,
and the thing is that HBO Max is using these films to promote their streaming
100%.
service, whereas
100%.
Marvel and Disney, on the other hand, are saying, nah, we don't even need these movies to come out on this streaming service because we got our shows coming as well.
And look, and that's great because I love going to the movies. I know you do as well.
Yeah.
Let's do what we can to keep the business going, right? We need streaming services to make money. And I totally get why WB did what they did.
Yeah.
But that's the difference right now with the slate and how Disney is operating with their streaming platform. So I think HBO Max will evolve. And they've already announced a Gotham kind of spin-off from the Batman movie. So they are creating shows like that, which is awesome. But they are not coming out as quickly, obviously, as the Marvel and Star Wars shows.
Yeah.
So I think right then and there, that's why Disney's like, look, we're good. We are confident in what we have. We know, hopefully, that we're going to be semi back to normal by May. And most everybody is going to be able to see Black Widow in theaters. And that's where I want to see it. That's for sure.
That's where we're all going to see it. So now as Marvel continue to talk about their upcoming theatrical releases for 2020, they decided to move past and talk about another Disney Plus show coming in 2020. And this is Loki. And Brad, I didn't expect us to get a Loki trailer, but you know, across this entire event, me and you were talking on the phone and there was literally loading screens for certain trailers for certain projects. There was not one loading screen for Marvel. And if there was going to be a loading screen, I would have expected it to be on Loki. But no, they still dropped that trailer and it blew everyone away in all of our expectations. But Brad, what were your thoughts on that Loki trailer?
I know, I love Loki. I think he's a great character. I loved him in all the films that he was in. I think they've done a great job of telling that story. And now they have a different Loki to kind of play with. And tell a different story, and he's going to have a different arc. And the way Kevin described the show is putting Loki in his own crime thriller, and I found that to be very interesting. But when you watch the trailer, it makes so much sense. It honestly had vibes of like the Riddler. You know what I mean? With
a ton of people were saying that, like Riddler Joker-esque vibe.
Yeah. And look, he's the god of mischief, right? So he's going to go, I think, throughout time and portray certain unexplainable events, like you saw him portraying Dobbins, I think is his name, as
Yeah.
the guy who stole all that money and then jumped out of a plane and was never seen again.
Hmm.
But in this sense, it's Loki jumping out of a
Yeah.
plane, and then Heimdall and Thor
Wait.
zip him up with the Bifrost. So it's that right there has me sold. I think he looks great. You're also getting the TVA, which is huge development, obviously on the time and reality standpoint. Multiverse, like there's so much that can be discussed on that end. But yeah, man, I love the theme, the music that they were playing. It just really set the stage for what
Yeah.
this show is going to be, and I can't wait.
And the beautiful thing is that it feels like they just put Tom Hiddleston back in this role and didn't even give him a script. They just let him do his thing. Like
Have
he
fun.
owns this character so well, and it
Yeah.
showed in this trailer. But one of the bigger things that was a part of this trailer was, or just the thing that shocked me the most, was that this trailer dropped so many bombs. I mean, just regarding talking about the stuff about the time variance authority, like
Yep.
we know Kang is coming. I think
Yes,
the
we do.
chances of us seeing Kang in this TV series for Loki are very, very high before we see him in Ant-Man and the Wasp, because we know that Loki isn't one to play by the rules. If you think Scarlet Witch is gonna mess stuff up, wait till Loki comes and starts time traveling left and right. But again, the trailer ended off with Loki jumping out of that plane and then Heimdall summoning the Bifrost, and he also said brother. So could we potentially see an alternate version of Thor and Heimdall come back? Like, there's just so much they could do with it, and it looks like such a fun show where just Hiddleston is going ham. He's doing his thing as Loki, and I couldn't be more excited for this series, despite me
Same.
not being as excited for it when it was initially announced. Like when they first announced a
Sure.
Loki series, I wasn't as it's not something that really got me excited. But then I saw this trailer and it changed everything. I mean, we saw a shot of Black Widow in the freaking trailer, and then we also saw a shot of, you know, the faces carved on the wall who could potentially, that could be the Council of the Kangs. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's just so much they could do with this show, and we know that
There
it's
was
going to
also
be
a shot of
big.
New York City that was completely decimated. The
Yeah.
Avengers Tower was completely wrecked.
Yeah.
So it's
And
going to be
there's
great.
a theory going
And-
around for that specific shot, that what if that's an alternate reality where Iron Man didn't stop the nuke from hitting New York City in the first Avengers movie?
or the Avengers failed at beating Loki, period.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. There's just so much they could do with it. And we know that Marvel's coming with their own What If series, but in this series in particular, they could really play with just a ton of what if scenarios. So I'm super excited to see Loki coming to Disney Plus later this year, along with all of the other Marvel projects. But now after that, Marvel decided to move on to their What If series and talking about that. And they actually dropped the trailer for What If that showcased multiple different episodes featuring multiple different characters, such as Peggy Carter's Captain America. We saw Chadwick Boseman voicing T'Challa as Star-Lord, and that was awesome to see. But we also saw some clips of Doctor Strange doing his thing, fighting an evil Doctor Strange, which was awesome. But Brad, what did you think of the What If trailer that we got?
Once again, every project that Marvel has announced, it's not just a project. There's always a reason for what they're doing. So I think everything's connected to an extent, and the quality of it looks incredible. Getting all the voices back. I mean, my heart sank when I heard Chadwick.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just like, because that was his last project that he did with Marvel and Disney. So just devastating, but it'll be great to see him as T'Challa one more time. And the animation looks great. Having the Watcher, Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher, like just the show. Yeah, the show itself looks incredible, and seeing Tony, and hopefully we get some more Cap. Like I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that's the point.
For sure. Again, that's a show that doesn't really connect to the story that they're building with the other Disney Plus shows and with the movies. But that's
Correct.
The most fun part about this show, is that they could do whatever they want, and it carries no significance, no weight, no meaning to the greater story. So that's the purpose of the show, and it's something that's the thing that intrigues me the most about it. But after What If, Marvel decided to talk about Miss Marvel, and we didn't get a trailer for Miss Marvel, but they showed like a sizzle reel where we saw different shots of, you know, what they're filming. They were talking about it. They were talking about the process of casting Kamala Khan and Aman Vellani, who's never acted in her life before, but they got her on Zoom during the pandemic.
Superstar.
They saw that she's naturally Kamala Khan. She doesn't have to act. She just is Kamala Khan. And when she was cast and we heard that she's never acted before, I said that. I was just like, all right, then that means that she's just naturally Kamala. Like she doesn't even have to
Yeah.
act. She just has to be herself.
Yes.
So Brad, what did you think of our first look at Miss Marvel?
Honestly, that was probably the one of the top shocking things that was revealed because they just started filming that.
Yeah.
So for me, I was really surprised because I didn't expect literally anything, and they had a beautiful sizzle put together talking about the history of Kamala Khan and Miss Marvel. And they showed the audition process, like you mentioned, and Kevin Feige telling Iman Vellani that she got the role. And you saw some shots of them actually filming too. So you get a kind of vibe for the show. You can already tell she's a super fan for Captain Marvel and the
Yeah.
Avengers. So I think after playing the Avengers, the brilliant game from Square Enix, we got to understand who Kamala Khan was. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in this show. So I'm excited, man. The details at one point, it looked like she was wearing a Captain Marvel and Valkyrie shirt, which I
Yes.
thought was very interesting. So once again, the Disney and Marvel, the masters of detail. I can't wait to see this series, and yeah, Iman Vellani is going to shine.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And like for me, like just this whole sizzle reel felt so wholesome. Like throughout the entire sizzle reel, they're talking about the show and what Kamala's all about. And they're really just incorporating the true essence of the MCU, which is friendship, family.
Yes.
And just the fact that that is going to be at the forefront of this show. I love Miss Marvel already, and she's not even in the MCU yet because I know she's just going to be that little kid who's just a fan of these heroes. And
yes.
And just, I know the supporting cast is going to be great too because they focus so much on just the family aspect of it. So,
correct.
Again, I'm super excited to see Kamala Khan enter the MCU and bring a new perspective to all of the crazy stuff that's happening because we're accustomed to getting, the older heroes, but now we have a little young fan being added into the mix. So I'm excited to see how she interacts with the other heroes because after playing this teaser, they directly confirmed that she's going to be in Captain Marvel 2 alongside Monica Rambeau or Maria Rambeau, whichever one of the two,
yep.
that we're going to see in WandaVision. So that was super interesting to see. They finished the Miss Marvel stuff and then they hopped right into Captain Marvel 2, in which we're going to see Miss Marvel team up with Captain Marvel. So Brad, what did you think of that news and the news we got for Captain Marvel 2?
Kevin said it right after he said that. Is like, this shows the interconnectedness of these projects. And I'm excited for, we love the Netflix series that we got, but they just couldn't dive into super detail connecting it back to the MCU, but now they can. So that to me is most exciting because being that she's a huge fan, she can hopefully talk about the events of Infinity War and Endgame and
acknowledge
make those references and not, beat around the bush or
not
kind
say
of,
the incident, even though half of humanity got snapped out of existence.
The blip.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how she got her powers. I think that'll be an interesting story.
Yeah, because she has that whole Inhumans tie-in.
That opens that whole world up too, man. Is she an Inhuman or is she a mutant?
A mutant,
you know?
That's
so
a big question.
They could go any way with it, but if they sure I understand. Siri keeps interrupting. But yeah, if they go the mutant route, that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about mutants later, but after talking about Captain Marvel 2, this was probably one of the biggest pieces of information for the upcoming Disney Plus shows is when they started to talk about She-Hulk. They unveiled multiple things for She-Hulk, a lot more than I anticipated. They unveiled Mark Ruffalo's coming back as Hulk. Tim Roth, the original Abomination from the 2008 Edward Norton Hulk movie, is coming back for this series to reprise his role as the Abomination. And then this was the interesting stuff that they revealed is that because Jennifer Walters is a lawyer for superheroes, these are Kevin Feige's specific words, you never know what other heroes are going to be popping up from episode to episode. So that confirms that we are going to be seeing multiple heroes from the MCU in this show. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tom Holland's Spider-Man because Peter Parker does need a lawyer right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Matt Murdock's or Charlie Cox's Daredevil because again, he's a lawyer, she's a lawyer, who knows? But there's no telling of who they can incorporate into the show because they could literally pick any hero and incorporate them because again, especially after a movie like Captain America Civil War, we know how sensitive the world is when major events happen with superheroes. So it makes sense for Jennifer Walters to be that lawyer and stand up for the heroes in courts. So, Brad, what do you think about all of the stuff they unveiled for the She-Hulk series?
I think it was great to get the confirmation that
Mark
Ruffalo is in the show. I think we expected that all along. That'll be a really cool thing to have more of the Hulk, storytelling after Endgame, seeing what he's up to and where he's at from a health standpoint, because we know he snapped and his arm is messed up. And I was disappointed on a side note, we didn't get to see him full power, right? We didn't get to see Hulk at full power.
We gotta bring him back. So he has to de-evolve or something with this series, because again, the whole story is that Jennifer Walters gets shot and he infuses his blood with her DNA, and that's where she becomes She-Hulk. Well, during that whole process, is it going to mess up his relationship with Hulk? Like, what's going to happen? All I know is that moving forward, Hulk has to go down a de-evolution phase. Like, I want to see Hulk have his rematch with the Abomination in this series. You don't bring back the Abomination for Hulk to just stand by on the sidelines with a broken arm. I'm sorry. You don't do that.
I agree. And I think that is fantastic. I love Tim Roth. I was a big fan of his for a long time. I loved him in Lie to Me, and then obviously as the Abomination. So that announcement was a big surprise, but Kevin making the note that you never know who's going to appear from episode to episode. I mean, that to me, the first person I thought of was Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes the most sense. I'm not sure what the release date is for this show yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's prior to Spider-Man 3. I think that makes the most sense. If not, it'll be after, and we'll get introduced to Jennifer Walters in Spider-Man 3. So, but yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. I'm not 100% sure on the whole Matt Murdock thing. I would love to see it. But once again, she is a attorney for superheroes. So if we quickly rack our brains who that could be, Spider-Man for one, there could be some remnants of, the actions of Tony Stark and how that comes down. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see what they do. And Kevin, by the sounds of it, it's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, for sure. Because that was another thing that they pointed out when talking about She-Hulk, was that this is going to be a comedy. Like, expect a ton of jokes. And that's something we can expect when Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is going to be involved in the mix. So I'm super excited for the She-Hulk series. It's going to be big. And again, the fact that there's going to be multiple heroes appearing from episode to episode, it's something that gets me super excited as Marvel continues down.
You know who else could be in it?
Who?
Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye.
Yeah, I thought about that.
That makes a ton of sense. Maybe Paul Rudd's Ant-Man. I mean, you look at all the guys who kind of got in trouble with the law at some point. It's very possible. And that, once again, that's what we lacked in the Netflix series. This interconnectivity where it just didn't fit. It didn't work. So, that's what I'm most excited about, to fill in those gaps between feature films and just expand upon storytelling.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just the biggest thing about all of these Disney Plus shows, is the interconnectedness to the movies. So now moving forward, Kevin Feige decided to unveil some new goodies. We have so much stuff coming our way. And then here comes Kevin Feige to announce some more shows coming to Disney Plus. And he started off by announcing a Secret Invasion show that is going to see Samuel L. Jackson come back to reprise his role as Nick Fury, as well as Ben Mendelsohn is coming back to reprise his role as Talos. And both of them are going to be working together to track down a group of evil Skrulls that are invading Earth. And we all know how big the Secret Invasion storyline is in the comics. So I wouldn't be surprised if this show directly sets up Captain Marvel 2 for like a bigger Secret Invasion story where we can see multiple heroes in Captain Marvel 2. But Brad, what were your thoughts on Kevin Feige unveiling a Secret Invasion show?
Well, the last time we saw Nick Fury, he was on a massive spaceship, which was apparently Sword, with Talos. So I think, right then and there, they kind of teased the potential of that. And I agree with you. I think it's going to directly link to Captain Marvel 2 and kind of set up that issue or whatever obstacle and adversity they're going to face in that film. But I do think it's going to lead to a Secret Wars feature film, which I think will be a Avengers level threat.
Where they rally up the entire universe.
Yeah. So I think, and we already heard the Russo brothers talking that they would come back to direct that.
Yep.
So,
Dude.
it's going to be a while, but I think that in itself can give a glimmer of hope that we'll see Secret Wars eventually. But I'm excited. I love that the chemistry between Nick Fury and Talos. So I can't wait to see more of it, and it maybe get some more information on the whole swap in Far From Home.
Yeah, for sure. And after that Far From Home post-credit scene, I'm sure all of us theorized and just anticipated that they are going down the Secret Invasion line at some point or another, just because the Skrulls are becoming more and more connected to everything else that's happening in the MCU. So now we have confirmation. Correct. We know where it's going, and Secret Invasion is going to be huge for setting up a bigger movie, because they can't handle the 100%. Secret Invasion storyline just in this Disney Plus series.
Kevin even said it was the biggest comic book story in the last 20 years, next to Civil War. So the end.
It sets the stage. So now moving forward, another Disney Plus series that Kevin Feige decided to unveil, which, oh my God, I could not be more excited for, is Ironheart. We're going to see a young Riri Williams come and take on the mantle of Iron Man, following in the footsteps of the great Tony Stark. Brad, what were your thoughts on Kevin Feige unveiling an Ironheart series?
It's been rumored for a while.
Yeah.
We got the announcement. It's official. Dominique Thorne will portray Riri Williams in Ironheart. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how they tie it back to Tony's legacy. And you can't have an Ironheart series without incorporating the closest people around Tony. It's just not going to happen. So I would love to see Happy, maybe Pepper, Morgan,
or Rhodey.
I just think definitely Rhodey. I think Rhodey is a given, but also maybe the kid from Iron Man 3. Who knows? Yeah. There could be some interesting things there. So I'm excited, extending upon Tony's legacy. Obviously, that's important to me. So, we'll see what happens, but I'm excited.
Yo, and another thing when it comes to the Ironheart series is that, dude, I honestly don't think they do this series without bringing back RDJ for something. It doesn't have to be a consistent role throughout the series. It could just be for a cameo where, I don't know, maybe he left like a hologram or something, or there's a flashback. I don't know. I just know that Robert Downey Jr. has said himself that he would come back for an Ironheart series, and now they're making an Ironheart series, and it makes so much sense for them to bring him back just to kind of like usher in this new Iron Man. And again, Riri Williams is such a fun character. She'll definitely be a part of the Young Avengers if Marvel ever decides to set that up down the line, which I think they will. But just seeing that they're finally getting someone to take on the mantle of Iron Man moving forward, and it's going to be Riri Williams in her own Ironheart series. It's something that I couldn't be more excited for. But continuing on the trend of talking about Iron Man and his story, War Machine is getting his own Disney Plus series, ladies and gentlemen. I thought after Avengers Endgame, that would have been the final time we see Don Cheadle, because his future just didn't look promising with all of the cards.
His contract was up.
Yeah, exactly. His contract was up, and there was no projects looking forward that we could really say that, that looks like something that War Machine would be in. But now War Machine is getting his own Disney Plus series, and it's going to be following Tony Stark's worst nightmare. What if his technology ends up in the wrong hands? And I think this brings it back to where Iron Man's story started with the first Iron Man movie. His technology ended up in bad hands, and now we're going to be revisiting this, but with Rhodey at the forefront of it. So, Brad, what are your thoughts on War Machine getting his own Disney Plus series?
I don't think it was a coincidence that Ironheart and Armor Wars were back to back.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Armor Wars comes out first and it introduces Riri Williams. I think that makes a ton of sense. But once again, I think these shows are so connected and they're such a bigger plan than what they just lay out for us that, I could be, more excited. I'm so pumped to see Don Cheadle come back as War Machine, the stories that they can tell, once again, including Pepper. She showed up as rescue in Endgame, guys. Like, we can't just forget about that. Yeah. So maybe she's the one to train Riri Williams. Who knows? But I think there's a lot there to play with. Rumors are Justin Hammer might appear in
Yeah, it
Armor
makes
Wars,
sense.
which would be fantastic. So Sam Rockwell, obviously a genius. So I would love to see him back as Justin Hammer. But yeah, I think there's a lot we could do there. And once again, we're not even covering. It's just the tip of the iceberg, guys. Like, we don't understand the way they're connecting these projects together, and ultimately the true purpose of these shows. And that, to me, is exciting to kind of theorize, because nothing is just face value with Marvel and Disney.
Yeah,
There's
never.
always a bigger plan, and it's always leading up to a massive crossover.
Yes, dude. And again, it's so awesome to see Don Cheadle come back to play War Machine once again. And I do think that this is going to be directly tied to an Ironheart series. Maybe in Armor Wars, Riri is just like the guy in the chair for Rhodey, because she plays like an Oracle type character. And then in the next show, she gets her own Iron Man suit. It makes so much sense. And I think it's a given that Riri Williams is going to be mentored by War Machine. I feel like that's kind of a given. It's just the dynamic just works so perfectly. And I feel like it's something that War Machine would feel like he needs to do in honor for Tony Stark's legacy to carry on with a future generation. So again, Armor Wars is coming. And then Marvel decided to talk about a little bit about Guardians of the Galaxy. And we didn't get much on Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but we're getting a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that they're going to film back to back with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This was something that I didn't expect at all, but once I heard Kevin Feige announce it, it just made so much sense. The Guardians of the Galaxy getting their own holiday special. I mean, who better than this group of misfits that we could literally just watch them in a room, just have that banter go back and forth, and we can all be entertained.
100%.
So, Brad, what are your thoughts on the Guardians of the Galaxy getting their own holiday special?
Well, when you think about where we left off on Endgame, where Thor was actually with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thor potentially being rumored for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I mean, is Thor going to be a part of the holiday special? I think that would be hilarious. Is Korg and Mink? Like, I think you throw everybody in this holiday special and have a true, like you said, witty banter and back and forth. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be silly. I'm curious to see if it is a one-off or if it's connected to any of the films or the stories they're trying to tell. But once again, Kevin Feige does everything for a reason. So I think this is going to be a fun little project to have, and who knows what will come from it.
For sure. Now moving on, Marvel decided to talk a little bit about Blade. We didn't get much on Blade. The only thing we really got on Blade was that it has its writers. They're working on the film. And Kevin Feige did confirm that we are getting news soon on Blade. So it seems like they didn't have, everything just like locked in for what they were going to announce. So now we're just putting Blade on the back burner for now. We're going to be patient, and we will get much more news for Blade coming soon. But after that, they decided to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder. And oh my God, right now they are in Australia. Shout out Bobby Holland Hansen. My brother's training alongside Chris Hemsworth right now, getting in peak shape because they're going to be going up against an insane threat and Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. Brad, what did you think about, we know Christian Bale was going to be a part of this movie, but what did you think about Kevin Feige confirming that he's coming to play Gore the God Butcher?
It sets the tone that this film is going to be wild. He's called Gore the God Butcher, guys. Like it's going to be a massive threat, and he's obviously insanely powerful. So I love the casting. I love Christian Bale. The technology that they did with the Black Order. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of showing you where I think we could go, especially with like Ebony Maw.
Yeah.
Like how great he looked. I can't wait to see what Christian ends up looking like. Because that character is creepy, man.
Dude, he's gonna look horrifying, and we all know that he's gonna bring that like super creepy just voice behind him.
Yeah, I can't wait. So I love to see it, and that film obviously confirming once again Natalie Portman's role as Jane Foster, and Tessa Thompson coming back as Valkyrie, which I love. So I loved Ragnarok. I can't wait to get more of Taika Waititi's filmmaking. So. I love it.
I mean, and Taika just over the years has just proven how much of a stud he is with films like Jojo Rabbit. Just
Oscar.
now he's doing Thor: Love and Thunder, and then as soon as he's finishing Thor: Love and Thunder, he's going to work on his own Star Wars movie. So Taika has so much on his hands, but if there's anyone that could juggle it, it's Taika Waititi. So we couldn't be more excited
100%.
for Love and Thunder. Now moving
And
on.
also, they're rumoring that the rumors are that the Guardians will be in this film as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, Vin Diesel himself said that they were gonna be in Thor: Love and Thunder, and Chris Pratt is confirmed. He's been confirmed by the Hollywood Reporter and a ton of credible trades that Chris Pratt is confirmed for Thor: Love and Thunder. So it's only a matter of time before, again, this movie comes out in like 2022. So there's still a ways away, and we'll get those announcements in the coming time. But now moving on to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We got a title for Ant-Man 3. It's going to be titled Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'm not a big fan of it, but whatever. It's just a title. It is what it is.
It's an Ant-Man movie, guys.
Yeah.
Like
that's all we got to know. Ant-Man and the Wasp, all right? But one of the bigger things was that Kang the Conqueror confirmed. Jonathan Majors is coming to play Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man 3. And he is bigger. He is a much bigger villain than just an Ant-Man villain. So it's going to be interesting to see the way they manage Kang. Again, there's a huge possibility that we could see him in the Loki series, but what are the greater plans? Because we know he's going to play a major role in Ant-Man 3, and that everything that they said just supports that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Kang. But Brad, what did you think about all of the news that we got for Ant-Man 3, Quantumania?
None of it was really surprising. Obviously, getting the confirmation of Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror was great. But the recasting of Cassie Lang was the biggest eye opener for me.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that. There was a lot of hype around what was her name? Emma Furman, I believe.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if it was a scheduling conflict or something along those lines. But they recasted, and here we are.
Yeah, and what's interesting was that Cassie Lang in this film is going to become Stature. That's something that was confirmed. So again, Young Avengers ? But anyways,
it ain't a question mark no more. It's happening.
It's happening. They gotta do it.
Speaking of Young Avengers, ...
Yeah, literally, it has to happen. So now after all of these crazy announcements went down, the panel started to come to an end, and Kevin Feige, I've never seen in my life, Brad, Kevin Feige unveiled so many announcements at rapid fire, like how he did at Disney Investor Day. Like it was literally like WandaVision trailer, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, this, that. Like it was just one right after the other, just dropping bombs every 2 seconds. And then at this point in the panel, he just took a step back and the tone of the entire panel changed. And it's when he started to talk about Chadwick Boseman and honoring Chadwick Boseman and what they're doing with Black Panther 2. One of the first things he came out and said was that they are not recasting T'Challa. Chadwick Boseman was T'Challa, and they are not recasting him moving forward. So someone else will have to take on the mantle of Black Panther in Black Panther 2, which is still coming. Ryan Coogler is working on the film right now, and it's coming in 2022. So it was super awesome to see them directly address the Chadwick situation, because a ton of us had questions about how they were going to manage the character, but they came on and said it. We're not recasting. We are continuing to honor Chadwick's legacy by exploring this world that he opened us up to. And I think that was the best way to handle this whole situation. Again, there's no right way to handle a situation like this just because it's so devastating and it's so surprising. Yes. But, if there's anyone that can handle the situation correctly, it's Marvel. And I feel that they did. I feel like moving forward, they're honoring Chad's legacy by continuing to explore this universe without its main character. Like that says a lot. So again, I'm super excited to see Black Panther 2. And I'm super excited that Ryan Coogler is the one at the forefront of all this, because he's proven in the past to take a franchise and completely revitalize it to the point where it's almost better. He did that with the Rocky franchise. After Rocky came out and Rocky retired, everyone said, oh, the Rocky franchise is done. We don't know about this Creed movie. I don't know about this Creed movie. And then Creed came out and it was a banger, and we all loved Creed, and we all loved seeing Michael B. Jordan, just kill it as Adonis Creed. And he completely revitalized that franchise. So if he could do that with Rocky, I am more than 1,000% sure he can do it with Black Panther. And I have full faith and full confidence that they will continue this Black Panther franchise in a way that honors Chadwick Boseman's legacy, and in a way where it's still interesting and just kills the story every single time. So I'm super excited to see everything they're doing with Black Panther 2. But Brad, what did you think about the announcement that they aren't going to recast Chadwick and just all of the news we got for Black Panther 2?
It was the only thing to do, period.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did it in a very tasteful way. They showed the feature of Chadwick behind him, behind Kevin. It's a horrible situation. And I don't think it's in question whether Marvel and Disney are going to be able to tell stories about Wakanda and that character moving forward successfully. I think the question is, are fans going to be open
And receptive
to the changes? Because look, they're going to create good stories. Are you going to be stuck in your way? Are you going to be stubborn and disrespectful to the situation? Now, if you're open to the fact that this is what they're going to do, and whether it's Shuri, Nakia, whoever becomes Black Panther, as long as you're open to it because you know what happened, I think the franchise is going to flourish. I don't think there's any way it could flop, but it's up to the fans and the supporters and people not reviewing the film saying, oh, well, Chadwick's not in it, I don't care. Or, Black Panther's not a dude, I don't care. This wasn't planned, guys. So you as a fan have to be open and receptive to the changes that are coming our way. And look, we're making the best out of it, but just know Chad built this and they're continuing it.
That's the best way to honor him.
Out of respect for him, support what they're doing moving forward.
For sure. And, once they came out and made this announcement, I saw a ton of people online kind of angry that they weren't going to recast T'Challa because, I could see that point of view where it's like they think that T'Challa is just so important as a character to our culture that it would almost be disrespectful not to recast him. And I can see that viewpoint and I can understand it, but I felt that this was the best way to truly handle this entire situation moving forward because, again, they came out and said that they weren't going to digitally, put him in the movie using CGI. It's just not something that would resonate with anyone. And again, I think this is the best way to handle this whole Black Panther situation. That is just so devastating moving forward.
Heartbreaking.
But after that announcement and after Kevin Feige touched on Black Panther 2, he left us on high spirits because he talked about something new. He talked about something that we've all been waiting for so long. And Kevin Feige came out and announced a Fantastic Four movie coming with John Watts, the director of Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, coming to direct. Brad, what did you think about Kevin Feige officially announcing a Fantastic Four movie?
Well, I was on FaceTime with you when this announcement dropped, and I heard you all the way from Miami. And look, man, I'm excited. I mean, we remember the first one with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, and that was so cool. And then the next one, I'm not talking about Silver Surfer, I'm talking about the one with Michael B. Jordan, was awful. So I want to see the Fantastic Four and the MCU. Mm-hmm. And that with John Watts at the helm, sign me up for that. Because look, John left some little Easter eggs in Far From Home, guys. And I would be shocked if that's not directly connected. Looking back when Spider-Man flew through the updated and upgraded and renovated Avengers Tower, is that the Baxter Building? Mm-hmm. Are they already in that building? I don't know. Who knows? Time will tell. But yeah, it's about time. I think everybody expected this to happen sooner or later, but it's here. They announced it. I'm sure they're working